I think, there's elements, right, and kind of not messing with the user workflow, kind of understand, because usually you're introducing friction, right, and say like, this is new stuff that I wasn't planning on, right, now it kind of affects me in my role. And usually there's a little bit of a larger, organizational pitch. Hey, you're doing it better for the company. Kind of let's keep all of our ducks in a row. I'm curious when it comes to technologies that help enable that. So Robbie mentioned MFA. If budget wasn't an issue, right? So and then you're kind of looking at other pieces to have that, would your organization look to adopt things like biometrics or kind of go down a passwordless journey or kind of other pieces where you're trying to blend a little bit more of security, but also reduce some of the user friction there? I'm curious, when you're thinking about planning for that or kind of planning for user training, how much of that comes into the fold and say, hey, we're going to introduce this, but it's also going to reduce this, right?
We're I am really looking forward to seeing how passwordless, especially since we're basically the house of Macintoshes. My servers are running Linux. We've got 2 Windows PCs. The rest are Macs, and all the anger I've developed dealing with that too. I came into this company right as Monterey was coming out. JumpCloud, yes, because I needed an MDM now because they were running 2011 Macintoshes, and yeah, it was a nightmare. Um, and I'm they're like the fingerprint reader. I
Mm-hmm.
really would like to implement that because that would be something that I could put my finger on that and not care. It's so out of the way. It's so easy and understandable. I would love to be able to implement that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where that's going.
Yeah, I would love to say that we're a 100% Macintosh shop, as much as Rob may hate that and other IT professionals do. But
I love it and hate it. It's
yeah, when I started, we were 90% Windows, 10% Mac, I'd say, and now we're 80% Mac, 20% Windows, because um, uh, possibly shocking to hear, but I've found that the Macintoshes provide us less issues overall um, for administration. The Windows is you know what causes 90% of our issues. Um, I think that's partially because we're in JumpCloud, so we have the MDM solution, and I can push out profiles and configuration changes seamlessly through that. Whereas we don't, we're 20% Windows, so I'm not going to pay for Intune or anything like that because it's just financially not really worth it. Um, but yeah, I'd love for the fingerprint in the Macs to start rolling out. I know the big issue right now, at least for me, is that Firefox doesn't integrate with the built-in Touch ID, so I can't use that to authenticate into something else that does biometrics. So I'm hoping that over the next couple of years with Apple and Apple, Microsoft, and Google, I think are the three pushing
Mm-hmm.
for it, we can start getting Firefox and some of the other major browsers to start supporting it and other software as well.
Yeah, it does take a push, right? Because I think anytime you're introducing some of these experiences, you can feel localized, right? And you're like, great, I can get my fingerprint into one thing, right? Versus looking at the totality and kind of understanding everything that users might have to log into and kind of how do you audit that, and the list goes on and on. The other piece that I'll say is you're actually in good company. And so kind of looking at one the pieces of the trend report that we looked at was kind of what's the makeup of current devices, and kind of across the 200 different organizations that we're looking at came back in. So it's actually about 60% Windows, and then 20 Mac, 20 Linux, and keeping in mind people have a bunch of different Linux server racks, other pieces that make up that bulk. But in terms of trending up, we're actually more folks are predicting that they'll be spending money with Microsoft, kind of having more Microsoft-based laptops, and then right behind it will be Mac, and then kind of Linux will be a little bit more stable. So some of the elements that we're starting to see across from that, and some of it could be pricing, some of it could be user preferences, and kind of coming into the management of the fold.
Please subscribe and check out more content from us.